Now, for those of you that have done your natal chart at alabe.com, you will find where is Sagittarius placed in your natal chart. Now, when Saturn transits, now Saturn takes 29 years to go around your natal chart, and every time he does that, it's called the Saturn Return. And a lot of you that are 29 years old or 28 or 30 around there are experiencing your Saturn return, and basically that's what it means is that you're experiencing your first time being an adult, because the last time that you experienced your Saturn return was when you were born and you were experiencing being a child and you were trying to understand the world. But when you have when you come to your 28, 29, 30, to that age, you already growing your wisdom teeth. That's the age that you've gained wisdom, and that's why they're called wisdom teeth. So now you have to learn how to live life with everything you've learned those 29 years. And the Saturn return is very difficult because it's a very introverted time, and some people cannot handle being introverted. But even those that are introverted have had a very difficult time with the Saturn return. I'm an introvert, and I had a very terrible time. I mean, it was just a hopeless kind of time. Maybe I should do a video about that. But it's an initiation of how to. It's pretty much an initiation to see if you could pass it, to see if you go into adulthood. And a lot of people don't make it. You know, a lot of people commit suicide around age 29, 28, 27, when you start feeling the effects of Saturn. Like Kurt Cobain, the leader of Nirvana. He experienced a Saturn return. Amy Winehouse at 27. Lucky Club 27, although I do believe that it wasn't really much of a suicide. But I'm not going to get into that. But back to Saturn and its transits. I'm going to go a little bit over each house and how it would affect you. So I'm going to jump around. I'm not going to go in order. And I'm going to go through each different transits of Saturn entering a house. Now, if Sagittarius falls in your 12th house, this could mean that you're going to be having a very, very, very lonely time, and maybe you might not even have family, maybe you might not even have friends, maybe you're just reclusive from the world. It's kind of like you're in a dungeon, right? And you can't really see the light at this time. You're trying to look for the light, which is what Saturn's trying to teach you. Saturn is trying to teach you to look for an alternative. Climb out of that hole that you're in. That's what Saturn is doing. And you might face a lot of illnesses at this time. You might be hospitalized. You might be losing your sanity. Because that's what the 12th house pertains to. It's a Neptunian house. All right, it's about illusions. Now your strength in this house, like Saturn could strengthen you because it could show you to be stronger and to have more faith. All right, you could be seeking truths. I know that when my Saturn went into my 12th house, I learned a lot about conspiracy theories. I was lost and I was seeking for truth. And this is how I started getting a lot of knowledge, more knowledge than what I already had. And I just put everything together once, Saturn went to my first house. Now, when Saturn visits your first house, the first house is about identity. And how do you see yourself? How do you dress? How do you act around people? Your personality. And when Saturn goes in there, he's trying to tell you to redo yourself, okay? Reevaluate yourself. How do you dress? Should you change the way you dress, your style? When Saturn got into my first house, I really did change my identity. I was always buying clothes that I didn't care about, I just, alright, just buy it, and I'll just wear it. But once the Saturn return came to my first house, I was buying clothes that really reflected who I was as a person. I was buying clothes like, for example, this is a dream catcher. I was buying necklaces that actually meant something to me as my personality. And that's what changed me. I had to restructure myself. All right? I had to look in the mirror and see some things that I didn't want to see. And then some things, things that I didn't see before in the mirror were just coming apparent to me. Now, when Saturn transits your second house, they say that it's going to be very strict in money. It's going to give you a hard time with money. It's going to probably tighten you up in terms of financial situations. So, but a lot of people say also that once Saturn goes there, you're going to work very hard for whatever it is that you like to do in the world. And you're going to make sure you have, plenty of security. That's just going to be the main focus of Saturn being there. And I could see it happening. I'm very motivated, and I'm very much focused in that area, and I wasn't before. So I could see how my energies were pertaining to possession. Now, when Saturn transits your third house, right? Now, third house, it pertains to siblings, neighborhood, short-term memory. It pertains to transportation, communication. Now, when Saturn transits that house, it's going to ask you to find another way to communicate, another method of transportation, perhaps a new neighborhood to adapt to, or maybe dealing with a sibling. Okay? Now, it's going to be the challenge of Saturn there in that placement. So Saturn there in that placement, in that transit, it could signify you're going to have trouble getting your point across. So you're going to have to find another method of doing it. Now, the fourth house. When Saturn transits the fourth house. Now the fourth house pertains to family, to home. Not a house, a home. Anything that you consider a home. Alright? A sanctuary. Where you rest, your private time. When Saturn is there, it's going to ask you to evaluate who is your family. Alright? Should you change it? Should you break it down? And maybe you might lose family members when Saturn transits the fourth. It might not be blood family, but it might be someone that you consider family. And it might not be because they're transitioning through death, but it could be that they just transitioned out of your life. And maybe they went another direction. So it might be hard. Saturn is a very harsh, it could be a very harsh and cold planet. But it does have a lesson at the end. If Saturn is transiting your fifth house of creativity, again, this could pertain to family, but more so of your creation, which could be your children, your pets. Maybe your pets might transition. Maybe a child might be in trouble. Maybe you're having difficulty finding love, Maybe you're having difficulty creating something. What Saturn is trying to do here is he's trying to tell you that you need to find another method to go around the problem. Try to fix it. It's just a soul test. That's what it is. That's what life is. When Saturn transits the sixth house, now be careful here because the sixth house pertains to health. And when Saturn is here, he's going to put you on a strict diet. He's going to create some health problems that you have to, attend to quickly. And it might put your energy a little bit lower than usual. But if you really look at it at in a positive note, Saturn could really fix you. I've seen people who have had, at the ending of that cycle, they are transformed. They've gone through a detox. They've changed their routine. What time they wake up. They've changed their method of they've changed their belief systems of how they think of food. They really do go through a very big transformation when Saturn does leave that house. So it could be very positive or it could be very negative. And usually it starts off negative and it ends up positive. Now, when Saturn transits the seventh house of partnership and marriage and relationships, what this does is it makes you evaluate, this person. Maybe this person might cheat on you. Maybe this, again, might transition. Maybe this person is just not working for you, and you can't let go usually, because that's what Saturn, he's very rusty when it comes to that. You can't let go, and you have to figure out a way of how to let that person go and heal and seal yourself. And that's pretty much what Saturn does there. If you're single, you might have more than usual of a hard time finding someone or a partner. And it also pertains to business. Maybe your business might not be going that well. Alright, because the seventh house rules business. Now, if Saturn is transiting your eighth house, I would caution you to be very careful, because I've had this transit before and I do remember what happened. And it was a lot of problems from other people. Alright? Other people that have nothing to do with you, and all of a sudden they create problems. This is my least favorite house. And I know a lot of people, they have the same issue as I do. They really don't like this house, just like the 3rd and the 12th. But really, they really do create problems. So really keep your third eye open and be aware of people just creating problems in your life to the point where you really have to restructure your whole entire life upon this person. And I mean, I just can't express how much I do not like it when Saturn or Mars transits my 8th house. I'm very careful about it. You know, I write the transits beforehand when those planets are going to go there, so I know what to do. Okay. Now, the 8th house also pertains to sexual matters and, you know, the hidden things too. And you might want to, you know, you might be restricted in that area. You might be restricted in your sexuality too. So, yeah, because it pertains to that. When Saturn goes into the 9th house, now when Saturn goes into the 9th house, what is it? The 9th house, it pertains to higher knowledge. It pertains to education. Alright? Maybe you will have difficulty attaining the knowledge that you seek. Maybe you might not go into college. You know, it'll be hard on you. Maybe it will give you a hard time to get into college. Maybe you will have a hard time in college. You know what I mean? In school. Right? And but at the end you will learn the method of how to go around it once again and attain what it is that you seek. Now, when Saturn enters the 10th house, now I remember when Saturn entered my 10th house, I was always knocking on doors because I wanted to be a singer, and you know, nobody opened the door for me. It was one of those times when I was like, man, can't anybody give me a break, you know, being a singer, you know? How come nobody notices me? It was just one of those things when my public life was just nowhere to be found. I was struggling, alright? And this could pertain when Saturn goes into your 10th house, you're going to feel like your career's in the dumps and you have to, you know, find a way to get there. And all that's all you could do. You could just think, man, you know, I really have to get this going. I have to get, you know, my reputation going in the world because, man, you know, nobody knows me. You know, I'm right here. But Saturn is just, you know, he's just trying to put these barriers in front of you that just seem impossible to overpass. When Saturn goes into your 11th house, mark my word, you're going to lose a lot of friends because it's telling you to evaluate who your real friends are. And I'm telling you, a lot of them are not going to make it. You know, it's going to be testing them to see if they're there when you need them. There's going to be a lot of needy times when you're going to need your friends, and they're just going to, you know, turn their backs on you. Also, you're going to be reevaluating your hopes and your dreams because the 11th house deals with hopes and dreams. You're going to be saying, man, do I really want this stuff? You know, are my dreams the same? You know, because dreams change every 6 months. But for these 2 years, you're going to be really thinking if this is what your future should look like, the way you had it in your mind.